3 years ago, I bought myself a VW Grand California, and when I first bought it, I had a lot of issues, especially in the first year. This thing though, my brand new Mobilvetta P80, seems to have won the competition because this thing's had more issues in its first 10 days than I think the Grand California had in its whole first year. And the issues in this thing are a lot more serious. Now I've had to make a list because I have got quite a few things that I need to remember and I don't want to miss anything. But I just want to sort of preface with a little bit of information, and that is that this van, the one I bought, was an ex-demonstrator. So that is going to have a little bit of wear that other vans from a factory, like a brand new van, isn't going to have, because people have climbed in and out of this van. That's understandable. I expect that, and that's where the saving come in. I did save a bit of money because of the fact it was an ex-demonstrator. That said though, some of the issues that I've had have got nothing to do with that. And one of the issues that I had was probably more to do with the dealership that's either sold us it or the one that sent it up. But it could have been lethal. Now for anyone who watched our very first video when I picked up the van, you'll remember this. Yeah, that noise is atrocious. I need to figure that out because that can't be normal, rattling like that. Now I was quite surprised with how harsh the ride seemed and how rattly it was, because I test drove a different model, like the same one essentially, but their demonstrator at the dealership where I bought this one, and it wasn't like that at all. It wasn't such a harsh ride. I could literally, as I was driving, I could feel like if there was a slight bump in the road, I could feel it through my pedals and the steering wheel. So me and Danny decided to go out for a curry, and I thought, let's have a look, see what it's like. We drove it and it just seemed to get worse. There's rattles and stuff which I'll talk about, but the ride was just so unbelievably harsh and I wasn't sure what was going on. So the first thing I thought is, if it's coming through the pedals and I can feel it through my feet and my hands, presumably it's either the tyres or maybe it's the suspension or something like that. So my first point of call was to check the tyre pressures. Now I'll give you a split second to guess what PSI the front and back tyres were set to. But the front ones were set to 96 PSI, which is insane. And the back ones were both at 94 PSI. Now I'm the expert and I'm not 100% sure if this bit's true, but presumably running tyre pressures that high could have easily caused a blowout on any of them and potentially caused injury. I don't know whether it was the dealership we bought the van at or whether it was a dealership that the van was initially at who sort of put them that before they sent it up. I don't know. But since I've reduced the tyre pressures down to what the manufacturer says they should be, the ride is a lot less harsh and a lot less rattly. But that said, there is still a rattle. So this here, the thing that caused the rattle, oh, my little grommet's come off. The thing that caused the rattle on the initial drive home, this. Now, that's annoying as it is, but if you shut the door, which I can't do, but I'll get to that in a second. Now, I just don't know how they're going to fix this, if I'm being totally honest with you. I mean, it doesn't rattle too much at the top. There's not much movement. But in the middle, you can see how much that moves. And it was absolutely brutal on the way home. I have figured out that if I just sort of pull the door shut and pull this taut, that it kind of stops it. But presumably pulling this taut, it's sort of stretching this metal and bending it around the door, which over time presumably will cause issues with this. So I'm going to ask them to have a look at this when I take it in shortly. Planning a Scottish road trip doesn't have to be hard. If you want to see all of the iconic views in Scotland in one easy to drive road trip, we've already got you covered. This is the Ultimate Scottish Road Trip. This book will guide you through the most incredible road trip you'll ever go on in the UK. We also have our NC500 Improved Guide. It's not just the normal one. We've changed the start point and the finish point to include a lot of views that the standard road trip completely drives by. Then we've got the Outer Hebrides Guide. So if you're looking to see the best beaches in all of the UK, white sand, Caribbean style beaches with probably Scottish weather, then this guide is for you. And if you want to see the best island in Scotland, the Isle of Arran Travel Guide has got you covered. You can currently save 30% off all of our guides, including the digital guides, on our website using the code NEWVAN30, that's NEWVAN30. And I'm actually extending that discount code through the full month of October. So use the code NEWVAN30 and click the links in the description. Now the next issue I didn't spot at the handover, and I don't think they're going to be able to repair it for us. And the reason I don't think they will is because I could have done it. And I know I haven't done it, but to them I could have, because I didn't spot it beforehand. My dad spotted it straight away though, and it's basically just this little light there is cracked. You can't Can't actually feel the crack, but it is cracked. Like I say, there was so many things to look at the handover that I didn't even notice it. It's not a major issue, if I'm honest, but it's just a bit of a pain that I didn't spot that before we went away. Now, the next issue happened when we were away with the kids. So at the weekend, just for one night. So you just pull the door shut. Now let's see if we can get out. The door broke. So basically the latch. Now when we first looked at the van, when it first come up, we done the little look around it on the very first video before we bought it. This van, the door just didn't shut very well. It like catches, and it still does. So I don't know if it needs adjusting. They did adjust it, presumably, because it was fine when we first picked it up, but it quickly went back to the way it was. And then obviously one of the days, my daughter, I think it was yesterday morning or maybe it was the night before, shut the door as normal, went to open it, and it just wouldn't open. You can get out from the outside though, so you can open it from the outside, but the inside handle doesn't work. It is what it is. They're going to have to fix that when we go in, because once you're in, you're kind of stuck other than the front doors, which obviously, I suppose you're not stuck really. They're a little bit dramatic, but it's still not ideal though, is it? You know what I mean? You want to be able to get out of this door, otherwise why have a door? A few of you spotted it on the initial video. There's just a little grommet thing or whatever, like the little cover missing for that. Not an issue, but it is missing. So thanks for the people that pointed that out, because somehow I didn't even notice that myself. So yeah. If you notice anything else in the videos, let us know. But anyway, we've got a much more serious issue coming up. But before we get to that, another little kind of small one is this. So the glove box, if you can see, this is it shut. Now you can see that there's an issue there because, like, there's no in it really that causes anything. But yeah, I don't know if it's bent. I'm not really sure what it is, but it doesn't shut properly. This dining area, you've got this corner section, and if we look under there, this piece of wood here is now loose. And that is loose because this was essentially what was holding it on. It's a screw with a little rubber thing on, because that's meant to come away for travelling and so on. But my son, who's 10, he's not a big lad, he's not a big chunker son out like that, he sat on it and straight away this fell straight off. So not the most sturdy thing. That's gonna have to get fixed, and I don't even know if it's substantial enough to stay in, to be fair. So I might have to look for a solution on my own. Maybe it's a little shelf bracket or something just to keep it on and make it a little bit sturdier, because that ain't gonna last 2 minutes. Now there's two more issues, one of which I can only show you when I'm driving, which is probably one of the worst issues. But this light window thing above us here, now I'll have to show you handheld, and it's hard to show you when the camera's moving and not holding it perfectly still, but it's not on right basically. So the window, you've got movement in it, just pushing it with a finger. Obviously when you're driving, because it's getting the brunt of the wind when you sort of going 60 miles an hour, even less, this window not only makes it sound like you're outside still and like you've got all the windows down, you get the air pressure, you know, when someone opens the back windows and it like does that horrible pulsing in your ears. And you also get, depending on the wind, a horrific whistling the entire time. So the hour-and-a-half drive home from Ripon yesterday was brutal. But more importantly than that, I'm guessing because it doesn't seal very well for that, if it's not keeping the air out, it ain't going to keep the rain out either. So that, luckily, because today's the first day it's rained since I got it, it's gone into the dealership today to go and get fixed, hopefully. So that's something that needs fixing urgently. The other one I'll show you, or try and show you, while I'm driving. I'm not entirely sure whether you'll hear it because of it having the microphone on, but basically the last issue that I've got is just this horrific squeak, and it's only in the driver's cab. Now I've looked around to try and figure out what it could be. I've sort of prodded at things and moved things to see like anything that moves. It could it be this, could it be that? And the only thing I can pin it down to is the brow that they put over the top to make this nice open airy area. I'm guessing they just sort of cut a hole in this roof, put a seal thing around it, and then maybe bond or glue the other thing to the top. Now it seems like in this area up here, all the way along the front and the side on the passenger side, the squeak is in that area the whole way along. You can hear it every time you go over anything really. It doesn't have to be a major bump, but anything sort of where the van dips at all, you hear that squeak. And it's not a nice noise, and it's constant as well, unless you've got a perfectly smooth road, which in the UK we ain't got none. So the only thing I can think of is it is that. I don't know how they're going to fix that, if that's what it is, but that isn't normal, and I'm not going to accept this back without that being fixed, because it's just non-stop. It's annoying, and like I say, I don't know if you can hear it. I will try and get the microphone near it once I'm on a bit easier to drive road. Obviously there's like roundabouts and other cars about, so I don't want to be messing on too much at the minute, but that is a major issue. But while I'm on a thought, since I'm driving it there, I might as well sort of break down how I feel about it up to now. Well, if I sort of break down the drive, first of all, I was not worried, I wished initially for a period of time that it was the automatic, and didn't get us wrong, I would obviously prefer the automatic, but I forgot how smooth diesel gearboxes are, generally speaking, because the power's not there instantly, and it's just the gear changes are a lot smoother than they are in a car. In a car, all the passengers are sitting there like they listen to sort of heavy metal. In this, it's fine, to be honest. It's a nice smooth gearbox. It's easy to drive. The gear knob and everything's in a nice position. It's not a bad van to drive, to be honest. I was expecting it to be. The Grand California, didn't get us wrong, is a lush van to drive. The Crafters in general now, they just feel like a car. They didn't really feel like a van. This is, other than the fact it's obviously a bit wider and whatnot, it's not a bad van to drive at all. It just isn't. The gears are easy. It pulls enough for what you need. It's 140 PS, I think it is, but I'm sure if it was fully laden, it would be a little bit more on the sluggish side, but it's fine, and I'm happy with it. In terms of the width and drivability of it, down sort of Ripon, which was where we went the other day, the sat-nav took us down some typical Google Maps roads, and I tried Apple Map on the way out, and it done the same. But it wasn't bad again, really. It's only 30 centimeters wider than the Grand California. I don't know if you can hear that. I'll stop talking and turn the volume up so that if it's not already loud enough, so you can hear that whistle. Because now I'm on a 50-mile-an-hour stretch of road. That window is brutal. Constant, it really is. But yeah, it was fine to drive. There was a little bit where I had to sort of dip in, where I thought that might be a bit tight, and I ended up with a little bit of bush stuck on my wing mirror for a while. But no major. There was times when that happened in the Grand California as well, so I'm not worried about it. The length isn't an issue really at all. The swing when you turn is fairly minimal actually. I was expecting it to be a lot more than it is. It's not that bad at all. Overall, I'm happy with the drive now that I've changed the tyre pressures. Before that, I was horrified. I thought I'd bought an absolute dog, because I'm like, why can I feel everything? Why is everything vibrating as much as it was? Now, it's fine. The smooth roads, it's smooth. The bumpy roads, it's bumpy. It is what it is, the same as any car or any other van. Nothing creaks, none of the doors rattle. They didn't get us wrong, and I went round all of them with these rubber little dots, put them all on each corner, and now they're perfect. There's no issues with anything rattling at all, which is unusual, because the Grand California, especially for a good chunk of its ownership, it was brutal, but it's not now. Well, there's the van in. We've done a walk around. I went over everything. I nearly forgot the little catch. So there's like a catch behind the door. When you open it, that obviously grabs the habitation door to keep it open in the wind, and the sort of rubber or plastic's being worn down, so we could, like, it just didn't hold on. So I've put that down. I've mentioned the cracked reflector. He seemed all right with it, although, like I say, it could have been me, although it wasn't. So we'll see whether he fixes that as well. So he'll give us a ring in the middle of the week with an update. Update could mean out. It could be like, oh, it's going to be ages, or it could be done. I don't know. And like I say, as much as it's not ideal that things gone wrong with it, if they can fix it and the service is fine, it's less of a problem. That was my issue with VWs. Every time I took it, they weren't really sure what to do with it. Again, albeit they're fine now as well. So fingers crossed we get it back, and I'll update you in another video as to whether, well, it's been fixed or not. I'll bring you along when I come and pick the van up.